Assistant Secretary Ingram, Major General Ream. I want to begin with the effort the Army undertook to reconfigure and reconstitute its capability and capacity to produce 155 howitzer rounds. Ranking Member Norcross and I had a chance to visit Mesquite, Texas, at a time where there was lots of excitement about the concept of a COCO, contractor-owned, contractor-operated entity, building a facility, producing large numbers of rounds very quickly. So we were impressed with the speed at which things were happening there. We are now 2 years later, and the facility has yet to produce a single projectile for 155 or any other artillery, for that matter, or mortar round. That puts us in a situation today to ask, where are we going with that facility? The Army had put out there a 100,000 round annual production rate. Are we still at that particular point? Are we still going to be looking to add production capability to get to 100,000 rounds annually? And if we are, how do we sustain that rate? What's happened before is we fill our weapons magazines, we have no other room, and then we say, guess what, we're going to reduce production. Instead of looking at other ways to partner with allies to make sure that their weapons magazines are full, to look at more aggressive training where we're firing more rounds to make sure we continue to have a demand cycle that sustains that. All those things are part of that. So if you could shed some light on us about where we are with Mesquite, the Mesquite facility, the 100,000 projection, and where we are with continuing to build the industrial base.
Chairman, thank you for the question. First, let me start by saying I'm not happy with where we are at Mesquite either, right? So I'm in the same boat you are. I'll talk about Mesquite in a second. As far as the 100,000 capacity that we were trying to reach, I agree, boom to bust is a real thing. We've seen it in every major conflicts following World War II, right? It doesn't matter where it is. We've gone boom to bust on every single munition. And so as we ensure that we've got enough capacity to support what the U.S. Army needs, along with sort of the extended demand signal we continue to see from allies and partners, we're still shooting for that 100,000 goal. We're still trying to get there. So now back to specifically what's happening at Mesquite. Absolutely. If you go back to 2022 with the Russian invasion on Ukraine, in the use of 155, we're at 14,000 a month. We're now pushing north of 56,000 a month, so we've seen a significant increase. And that's important to highlight that that's more than just the metal parts they make at Mesquite, right? That's been into everything that goes into building a 155, right? So that's the metal parts, the load assembly pack, the charges, the fuses, everything that goes into that. So we've seen a significant scaling up of all of those capabilities over the last few years. Mesquite there was risk taken, right, when we did the Mesquite project. Risk from the technology of the assembly line, the production line that was installed. But at that time, there was agreed upon we would take both risk on the government and contractor side to deliver on a sort of capability. And so we are currently in the middle of, so I guess to put it clearly, the stop work is still in place. We are currently in negotiation with General Dynamics about what the future of that looks like. And I anticipate you will see an investment from the company themselves, from the industry partner themselves, to ensure they can continue to build out for that facility that would make rounds that would primarily be supported by the FMS, the foreign materials demand that we currently have. But we are currently in negotiation what that looks like, both from a line perspective, a quantity perspective, and hopefully we'll have that wrapped up soon. But I'll pause there and turn it over to General Rime if he has anything else he'd like to add to that.
General Rime.
Mr. Chairman, I share your same concerns of where we're at with Mesquite. But let me first just say, thank you for your continued support and advocacy. The authorities and the resourcing that enabled us to get after this 100,000 per month mandate have been instrumental to the progress we've made. I mean, it's a historic level of funding that we've received, to the likes we haven't seen since World War II. And the investments we've made, both in terms of advanced manufacturing capability, adding resilience, improving workforce safety with the modernization efforts is critically important. So when we kicked off this surge, it was with a lot of the 1940s aging infrastructure, and it really forced us to look at, other sources to reach some of this capacity. And so when you think of a 155, right, we've got a fuse, we've got, a metal projectile, we've got an energetic fill, we've got a propelling charge and a primer. And so we made investments to add, second and third sources in some cases to get to this number. I think the beauty of that is that those investments, are bringing advanced manufacturing, automation, all the things that are going to add resilience, are going to improve workforce safety with some of our facilities. And so you look at Line 3A, down in Iowa as an example, and that's been in continuous operation since 1940. We just awarded a contract this past fall for a future artillery center that's going to be, probably the most advanced melt pour operation where we load our artillery projectiles. New 6-8 facility. No one could remember when the last time we built anything new at Lake City. The answer was 26 December 1940. They found it in Harry S. Truman's Presidential Library. It's the last time we built anything new. And so we certainly appreciate, all the support going forward, and look forward to continue working with you, because a lot of those investments were very targeted towards 155, and there's a lot more to the conventional munitions space than just artillery.
Yeah, there's a lot more left to do, and we appreciate the Army being willing to take risks, and we've said this plainly and clearly, that is, take risks, but if you're going to fail quickly. Make sure you take away lessons from that. Make sure we recover as much of the resources that we've expended there. Make sure, too, that we have partners that are willing to share in the risk. I think that's key with this Mesquite facility. And listen, I understand folks not wanting to say, "Oh, that was a failure," but I want to make sure that if there's not a clear and quick path to recovering there, that we're not afraid to say, "Hey, sorry, we're going to move on. We learned something from that. We spent some money, but let's move on to the next stop in that effort." Let me ask one other real quick question about novel energetics. We talk about being cast in the past. As far as our weapons production capability, we are still there when it comes to weapons chemistry. We are using two weapons compounds, both for explosives and propellants, that go back to World War II, RDX and HMX, and we developed the more modern novel energetics in CL-20. And our adversaries use as their metric CL-20, we use as our metric the substances that are developed in 1940. So when we ask the question, why are the Chinese having more success in range and lethality, and they're using the weapons chemistry that we developed, and we wonder why we're getting outsticked? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. And then it's taken us so long to actually ramp up and put in place an Office of Energetics so we can look at that and modernize these weapons platforms. I want to get a perspective from you all about how you think the Joint Energetics Office is going to operate, and what will it do to quickly modernize existing weapon systems and look at modern energetics for future weapon systems. We know initially there's been a lot of success there. That shouldn't be surprising, since CL-20, CL stands for China Lake. We actually developed this stuff, and then we allow the Chinese to steal it and use it against us. It just doesn't make sense. So give me a pathway forward where we're going to be using novel energetics to get back in the business of range and lethality.
So, Chairman, I don't disagree that we need to continue to figure out how to get better energetics in most of our weapon systems. And so I agree with you, the fact that the JETO office will hopefully be the guiding light for that for the department as we continue to move forward. Why that is being stood up, the Army has not waited. The Army's continue to move. We got 3 projects right now where we are integrating CL-20 into 3 different weapons to prove out how well or how the weapon design will have to change to successfully use those materials. And so those are going to lead to a variety of tests that are occurring later this year, but absolutely moving out. We see other areas that we think we can, CL-20 will bring better capabilities for us, whether that's longer range munitions where weight becomes a challenge. Think everything from one-way attack UAS to longer range munitions. We also see it in small UAS where you have small UAS that can't carry a lot of payload, and so to get a bigger bang for the buck with the payload. And so Absolutely, as a prior naval weapons system engineer, understand what we do at the labs and where that was created, and there's lots of capabilities like that that we have within our labs that we need to continue to bring to the forefront, and we see the JETO office as sort of leading that charge for us.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. There's a lot of capability out there that happens at our labs, that happens at a lot of places where some great research is done, like DARPA and others. Unfortunately, it gets put on the shelf because they're not allowed to be advocates for their products, and they can't go out and actively find customers. We have to find a way to close that gap too, because I think if a lot of people out there in the combat space knew these things were available, they would be the biggest advocates to put them in their arsenal. So with that, I'll turn to my colleague,